Good morning, Scott Redler, T3Live. Welcome to today's morning recap, the relaxed Friday recap. So I'll try and go through quick. Futures right now, excuse me, are down about 6-7 handles. And now I see the headline is, the devil's in the details, meaning that they're dissecting what came out of Europe and they don't like what they see. They don't know where the money's coming from. They don't know if the spreads are really going down. Whatever it is, okay, we just had a huge move. And obviously being down 6-7 handles after yesterday, we were up a ton, I think 35 or 40, it makes sense. So that's why I didn't take home any positions, and that's why I think it's going to be, take your weekend early type of day. So what I will do is I'll map out some support levels that if we see, maybe we start buying some back, and or just to take knowledge or take note of what should hold to keep everything under the same speed and what needs to hold in order just to keep things intact. So take a quick look at the spiders. You will see here. I'll do the spiders because that's what most of us have been trading lately. We did get as high as 129.42, and there's something going on with the mismarking of it. But the bottom line is this is the 200 day that we broke through. I would watch this 127.40. This would be a spot to retest. But I have a feeling this might not hold. They'll probably test this gap at some particular point. So in the spiders, I do think a better spot to buy back would be around this 125.96, so about 126. So I don't want anyone to be chasing, paying up. At this point, would be a minor support. This would be a little bit bigger support. And then, on Monday, we'll see what the action is like today. I'll go over some Fibonacci numbers. As far as some individual, stock plays, Baidu numbers were good. It's up about 10 bucks. Let's take a quick look at the chart. It's not. See, that's the thing. It's not really that extended, so to speak. It's usually when Baidu announces, it's like on the highs and then it fails. Here, it's it came off the lows, it busted through this downtrend. I do think that there's going to be some resistance in this 150 area. So what you should do is let it open up for 15 minutes or so. Let it put a high in or a low. You guys know the drill on earnings. So if you follow me here, it's up 10. If it pushes to just say up 11 in the first 15 minutes and your thought is to fade it from the short side, then let that high come in, okay? And then short verse that high and see how much of the gap that it fills. Maybe it's a bit priced in. They beat by 3 cents, great numbers, but Baidu right now is a $1,500 stock. That's why I talk about, it's upsetting that Google and Apple and these guys won't split their stock because, it's a lot easier psychologically for funds and for retail and for even traders to grab, a $150 stock versus you really think it would be $1,500? No. Washington would probably tax it too much because that means they're making too much money. But anyway, so verse that level. But if it comes in like $2 or so and it holds and holds and market comes in, shows relative strength, then perhaps off that low you buy it and then you add to it through that first high. So just watch the action a little close. As far as just Apple, since I just mentioned it, still has something to prove here. It hasn't filled this earnings gap. It's still in here acting okay. It's still above the 50-day. Yesterday definitely showed some relative weakness versus the market, but it's still absorbing. I'm really not going to get too interested until I see some extreme relative strength. Then hopefully we get a trade through this 409 for a bit of a gap fill. A nice $3, $4, $5 trade. The low here is 415, so that would be good. You had that yesterday in IBM. IBM was able to do it. IBM, came out with good numbers. They didn't miss though. And it just wasn't enough at the time. So if you look at the chart, that was when it was up here. So, you still had this ascending channel intact. It filled this gap. Nice little trade. If you traded it through here, filled it, and now, I would let it just accumulate some time now. Amazon yesterday was, a decent little macro trade. Some news came out. It traded above the high of the previous day. So there was a little trade there for active guys, but that's going to need some time. LVS came out with some numbers. It's up like $1.50. I do think it's going to be a tough trade into this. I guess it could fill this gap up to 48. Nice little move here with closing the highs, decent earnings. So still some signs of life there. There've always been signs of life, but it's been depending how you do it. I had win options the last few days. I actually sold them yesterday, because LVS was coming out and also stock ran 15 bucks. Look at win. Nice little trade yesterday, guys that focused on it. It's coming into a decent area here. I'm not exactly sure where it's trading now, but this 140 is somewhat of a pivot. If it trades above this, we could easily see a gap fill up to this, 147 area. But yesterday was a nice day. Maybe it pauses here as long as it holds above this gap. Could go sideways for that push. The banks definitely could use a rest. Goldman Sachs, powerhouse, two nice pivots, 98.5. Then you had 115, and now at this point, it's a bit extended, just like everything else. Here was your pivot 1 to buy if you missed the reversal, and then here was your pivot 2 to buy, and if you held into yesterday, hopefully you took a little bit off. Now, we'll see how it holds up. We'll see how it plays against this gap. Who knows? Maybe it actually goes through yesterday's high for a quick one, and then you get a little 80-20 trade as far as for a rest. But a lot of these banks have come a long way, and you actually could have held them. I think I held the XLF for like 5 days. That was a big hold. And then even yesterday, taking Bank of America and JP Morgan was a nice trade. GE yesterday, what was it, up 5%? Look at GE. For those of you who parked some money there, I still think it has some room. I did sell my majority just because I wanted to be flat last night because it was just part of my thesis that I sold all my positions into last night. I think a little sideways action. It'll trade through this high, and you'll be seeing 1850 at some point this year. Probably even by the end of the fourth quarter. So this way, if you're holding it and you want to stay involved, I still think there's room here, and just sit tight. If you were in like tier 2 or tier 3 and you sold into yesterday, just hold tier 1. That'll be fine. OAH's Rockstar, very extended into this moving average. It's going to need some time now. You had a few entries. Here's entry 1. Here's when it broke this downtrend. Here's your extension. And now it needs to go sideways. If you don't want to hold these things, I don't think you have to. If you're macro tier 1 and you just have your portfolio, you could stay there because you had tier 2 and tier 3 along this process, and hopefully you sold into some of the excitement, which is how you maneuver for cash flow. As far as gold, I think that those of you hanging out in tier 1, stay with it. Those of you looking to trade it, it's going to be a tough spot. Fills this gap. You could look for a little cute short here. And then see if it could hold this area. But gold was a nice trade when it broke above this pattern, and now it's extended. So I really wish I could show you like 10 to 15 charts that are all tight, all perfect patterns, ready to expand and ready to explode, but that happened already. That happened in the past week or 2 weeks, and then you've had those patterns, and then you've had follow-up patterns. So right now, with things extended, I would just take a step back, look very stock specific. There's nothing right now exciting me at all, and I'm coming in flat. We're down a little bit. Maybe I'll try and make a little bit of money, but I'm going to start my weekend early. I have to study for the 24. A lot of guys have to study. So if you had a great 4-week run or you maneuvered this pretty well, I would take a step back and just enjoy yourself. It's Halloween coming up. It's a great holiday. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your friends. If you're single, go out. It's a fun night. A lot of people like to wear those fancy costumes. If you have your kids, it's you could be Buzz Lightyear, he could be Woody, or I could be Rocky, he could be Apollo. That's what me and my son are going as. Actually, no, he wants to be Ivan Drago. He's only 3, but he's not tall enough yet. With all that said, it's a good time. All the problems in America aren't solved. All the problems in Europe aren't solved, but they don't have to be solved yet. You need small steps taken in the right direction, and for you yourself, you have to take small steps and learn how to navigate these markets if that's what you're doing. If you're doing it as a pro, if you're doing it just to add extra cash flow, if you're doing it to, just to start watching because your broker took you for a ride for the last 15 years, you're making progress. And again, markets, big move, so feel good about it. If you missed the move, try and dissect over the weekend perhaps, and off the charts, we did the anatomy of the S&P. I showed the chart patterns. Look at them, go over them, see why you missed it, see why you didn't react fast enough. So then next time it happens, you'll be in the game and you'll be ready to roll. So learn from what just happened. Don't be upset. Don't fight it. It'll do nothing for you. Just make progress. Scott Redler, T3Live, The Morning Call. See you at the recap perhaps. If not, have a great weekend.